What is really in your chicken? 7. UK brands are selling you water-padded, antibiotic-linked, imported poultry disguised as quality British chicken. Number 1 on the avoid list contains just 62% real chicken meat, padded out with water, starch and vegetable oil. From fluoroquinolone antibiotics to Polish factory farms, we are exposing the chicken brands that betray British shoppers and revealing 3 that actually deliver real poultry. Number 7. Aldi's frozen chicken is the poster child for water padding, a practice that quietly siphons money from shoppers' pockets under the guise of value. Independent laboratory analysis reported by The Guardian found that nearly 20% of the weight in Aldi's own label frozen chicken breasts was nothing but added water, well above the European legal limit of 15%. That means for every £5 you pay for, a full pound is just water, not meat. The cost of this hidden liquid is around 65 pence per kilogram, paid as if it were real protein. The deception does not end there. These frozen fillets are sourced from Brazil, then processed by Westbridge Food Group, where they are tumbled with salt, corn oil and water-binding additives before being shipped into British supermarkets. What looks like a bargain on the shelf is actually a diluted product, with shoppers footing the bill for water, sodium and filler instead of genuine chicken. The label may mention added water, but the true extent is rarely made clear. This is not just a question of value, it is a breach of trust, a scheme that boosts profit margins by disguising the real content. Aldi's water padding opens the countdown by exposing how economic fraud and misleading packaging have become standard practice in the UK budget poultry aisle. Number 6. Lidl's fresh chicken brings the antibiotic resistance crisis straight to the dinner table. An independent laboratory analysis commissioned in 2024 found that 58% of Lidl's fresh British chicken samples harboured bacteria resistant to multiple antibiotics, including those classified as critically important by the World Health Organization. Out of 40 products tested across stores in England, Scotland and Wales, nearly 6 in 10 carried multi-drug resistant strains of E. coli or Salmonella, which can transfer their resistance genes to humans through food. The testing followed ISO-accredited microbiology protocols, with samples sealed, tracked and analysed for resistance to a panel of 12 antibiotics, including fluoroquinolones. The result was that more than a third of Lidl's fresh chicken carried bacteria resistant to these last resort drugs. There is no comparable independently published resistance data from any other major supermarket, leaving Lidl's supply chain uniquely exposed. This is not just a theoretical risk. The UK has already seen outbreaks of drug-resistant Salmonella linked to poultry suppliers using these antibiotics. When chicken meant for family meals becomes a vector for superbugs, the consequences extend far beyond the checkout. Lidl's silence on better chicken commitment standards and lack of transparent antibiotic stewardship make it impossible for shoppers to know what risks they are bringing home. In a market where most brands hide behind vague welfare claims, Lidl's documented resistance rate stands as a stark warning. The price of cheap chicken can be measured in public health. Morrisons has come under fire for selling chicken dressed in the trappings of British farming while quietly sourcing raw meat from Poland. The supermarket's packaging leans heavily on national imagery, Union Jacks, rolling fields, and the promise of homegrown quality, yet supply chain documentation reveals a different reality. Investigative reports and protest coverage, including a widely publicised demonstration in Kent, have exposed how Polish origin chicken is processed and repackaged to appear as if it were raised and finished on British soil. Shoppers picking up a tray of Morrisons chicken may believe they are supporting local agriculture, but the actual origin can be hundreds of miles away, with no clear disclosure on the front of the pack. This is not a question of taste or price, but one of trust. Provenance is being bent to fit a marketing narrative, not the facts. The deception does not stop at origin. Morrisons has made only partial moves toward adopting the better chicken commitment, the industry's main welfare standard. Unlike retailers who fully embrace the better chicken commitment requirements, covering stocking density, breed and antibiotic use, Morrisons offers only vague assurances and selective compliance. There is no public audit. no transparent report on welfare practices, and no guarantee that the chicken in the pack meets even the lowest bar for humane rearing. Where transparency should be the baseline, Morrisons delivers ambiguity and spin. In a market where shoppers are already wary of hidden water and undisclosed additives, this kind of provenance sleight of hand erodes confidence further. The gap between the supermarket's farm-fresh branding and the reality of imported, welfare-uncertain poultry is a breach of consumer trust that goes beyond simple mislabeling. It is a calculated bet that most people will not check the fine print. Number 4. Tesco's chicken supply is built on the speed and scale of industrial farming with a hidden cost that most shoppers never see. At the heart of Tesco's standard chicken range are the Ross 308 and Cobb 500 breeds, genetic lines engineered to reach slaughter weight in just 35 days. This relentless pace is not a mark of progress, it is a recipe for suffering. Scientific studies have linked these fast-growing broilers to a catalogue of welfare failures, including leg deformities, heart strain, and mortality rates that routinely exceed those seen in slower-growing, higher welfare breeds. Birds bred for explosive growth struggle to support their own weight, often collapsing or developing painful foot pad lesions before they ever reach the processing plant. The industry's obsession with efficiency means animal welfare becomes collateral damage, each day shaved off the grow-out period translating into more birds, more profit, and more invisible pain. For consumers, the consequences are equally real. Meat from fast-growing breeds is often pale, watery, and lacking the texture and flavour of true, slow-reared chicken. While Tesco's packaging may promise British quality and farm-fresh appeal, the reality is a system that prioritises speed over welfare and volume over integrity. The price of cheap chicken is measured not just at the checkout, but in the silent suffering of millions of birds bred to grow too fast for their own bodies to bear. Number 3. Bernard Matthews American Fried Chicken delivers a masterclass in ingredient deception. Laboratory analysis referenced by consumer watchdogs and ingredient lists alike reveals that just 62% of what is in the box is actual chicken. The remaining 38% is a cocktail of water, pea starch, lactose, milk protein, and vegetable oil, fillers that bulk up the product while hollowing out its nutritional value. This is not a minor technicality. According to UK food law, any product sold as chicken is supposed to contain at least 95% real poultry meat. Yet here, more than 1/3 of the content is water and additives, not the protein shoppers expect or pay for. The label may list these ingredients in small print, but the front of the pack still shouts chicken, a clear affront to both legal standards and consumer trust. This is ingredient fraud, plain and simple. Families think they are buying affordable chicken, but what lands on the plate is a heavily processed, water-padded imitation. The implications reach beyond wasted money. Water and starch dilute the protein, while added dairy proteins and oils change the texture and nutritional profile. The product becomes less about nourishment and more about margin. In a market already riddled with welfare scandals and antibiotic concerns, Bernard Matthews sets itself apart by swapping out real meat for a blend of cheap fillers, an act that crosses the line from aggressive cost-cutting into outright substitution. For those seeking real food, this is a warning. If the ingredient list runs longer than a single word, it is time to walk away. Number 2. Asda's chicken aisle has become a case study in supply chain smoke and mirrors. Once a vocal supporter of British farming, Asda has quietly shifted a significant portion of its fresh chicken sourcing to Germany and the Netherlands, a move that drew pointed criticism from the National Farmers Union. The NFU warned that this pivot undermines British producers and opens the door to lower welfare and traceability standards, yet Asda's packaging and public messaging still lean on the language of local quality. The reality is a widening transparency gap. Shoppers picking up Asda's fresh chicken may believe they are supporting British agriculture, but the origin story is increasingly opaque. Country of origin details are buried in small print, and there is no public commitment to the Better Chicken Commitment, the industry's main welfare benchmark. While other retailers at least gesture toward higher standards or clear sourcing, Asda's silence on both provenance and animal welfare leaves consumers in the dark. Retail Gazette price data shows that Asda's chicken remains among the cheapest per kilo, but that low sticker price masks the real cost. British farmers squeezed out, welfare standards diluted, and shoppers left guessing about what's actually in the pack. In a market where trust is already fragile, Asda's retreat from transparency and its embrace of EU imports set a new low for accountability. The only thing clear is the uncertainty. Buyers are left to navigate a maze of half-truths, paying for a product that may be far removed from the British, high-welfare chicken they think they are bringing home. And finally, in first place, Iceland's frozen chicken stands as the most alarming case of compounded risk and hidden deception in the UK poultry aisle. Here, the problems do not just add up, they multiply. Iceland's budget frozen lines are built on a foundation of imported meat, routinely sourced from supply chains flagged for their use of fluoroquinolone antibiotics, drugs the World Health Organization deems critically important for human medicine. In 2020, these very suppliers were linked to a salmonella outbreak that sickened over 1,000 people and left 5 people dead in the UK. Iceland offers shoppers no public data on animal welfare, no better chicken commitment status, and no independent lab testing for antibiotic residues or resistance. The curtain of opacity is total, not a single audit, not a single supply chain disclosure, not even a gesture toward transparency. Inside the pack, the deception goes further. Independent analysis confirms that Iceland's frozen chicken, like its discount rivals, is deliberately water padded. Up to 20% of the product's weight is nothing but added water and binding agents. That means shoppers pay for ice and sodium, not protein. The value label is a smokescreen for diluted meat, hidden processing, and a total lack of accountability. Where other brands at least gesture toward welfare standards or British sourcing, Iceland offers only silence and risk that extends from the farm through the factory and right onto the plate. In a market filled with half-truths, Iceland's frozen chicken is the full package, antibiotic-linked, water-inflated, and utterly unaccountable. Coming to the top 3, Co-op marks a rare shift toward meaningful welfare reform in the UK chicken aisle. While most supermarkets hide behind vague promises or stall on real change, Co-op has publicly pledged to cut stocking density to 30 kilograms per square metre across its own labelled chicken range, a move that gives each bird about 20% more space than the industry standard. This is not just a token gesture. Lower density means less crowding, reduced stress, and a measurable drop in the risk of disease outbreaks that so often drive antibiotic use. Co-op's commitment extends further. By 2025, the retailer plans to phase out fast-growing breeds notorious for broken legs and heart strain, replacing them with slower-growing strains that reach maturity at a healthier pace. This transition is expected to reduce the need for routine antibiotics, a critical step in the fight against drug-resistant bacteria. Unlike retailers whose supply chains remain opaque, Co-op has opened its doors to third-party audits and published its welfare targets in black and white. For budget-conscious shoppers, this is a rare case where higher welfare does not come at a premium price. The reforms are not perfect. Co-op has not yet reached full Better Chicken Commitment certification, and some birds are still raised just above the legal minimum. But in a landscape dominated by water padding, filler-laden products and imported meat of uncertain provenance, Co-op's incremental progress stands out. The result is a chicken range that offers genuine improvement for both animals and consumers, setting a new baseline for what British shoppers can demand from their supermarket poultry. In second place, M&S Oakham Gold sets a rare benchmark for mainstream, high-welfare chicken in the UK. Unlike most supermarket poultry, Oakham Gold is reared to meet every requirement of the Better Chicken Commitment, a standard that demands more than just a few tweaks at the margins. Every bird comes from slower-growing Hubbard genetics, a breed that takes 55 days to reach maturity instead of being rushed to slaughter in 5 weeks. This slower pace is not just a technicality. It means stronger bones, better muscle quality, and a dramatic reduction in the leg deformities and heart problems that plague fast-growing factory breeds. M&S compliance with the Better Chicken commitment covers the full spectrum, including lower stocking densities, natural daylight in sheds, environmental enrichment, and a strict ban on the routine use of critically important antibiotics. Every Oakham Gold chicken is raised with more space and better welfare, a clear step up from the welfare minimums that dominate the rest of the market. For shoppers, the difference is visible on the shelf. Oakham Gold typically sells for around £5.25 per kilogram, a mid-premium price that reflects higher production costs but delivers real value in welfare and quality. There is no hidden water, no imported filler, no ambiguous ingredient list, just British chicken, bred and reared to standards that the rest of the industry still struggles to match. While the range is not as broad as Waitrose's, Oakham Gold proves that Better Chicken does not have to be a niche luxury. It is the closest thing to a supermarket poultry range that actually delivers on the promise of quality and transparency. And finally, in first place, Waitrose sets the standard for what British shoppers should expect from supermarket chicken. Every pack of Waitrose's own label chicken, fresh, frozen or ready meal, meets the full requirements of the Better Chicken commitment. That means no hidden corners, no half measures, and no excuses. Welfare standards are enforced across the entire range, with strict controls on stocking density, breed and antibiotic use. But Waitrose goes further than any other retailer by making the supply chain fully visible. On every chicken pack, shoppers find an origin code, scan it, and the farm of origin appears instantly. No guessing, no fine print, just transparent sourcing from field to shelf. This is not a marketing gimmick, it is a working traceability tool that allows anyone to check where their chicken was raised, offering a level of accountability that exposes the opacity of rival supermarkets. There are no ambiguous welfare claims, no imported meat posing as British, and no ingredient lists stuffed with water or fillers. Waitrose's approach is simple: clear standards, verified welfare, and real transparency. In a market dominated by misleading labels and empty promises, this is the gold standard for responsible chicken. For shoppers who want to know and trust what they are eating, Waitrose stands alone at the top. Across all 10 brands, one pattern is undeniable. British shoppers are routinely misled, paying for water, additives, and imported meat dressed up as homegrown, high-welfare chicken. The real danger is not just what is missing from the packaging, it is the antibiotic-laced, fast-grown supply chains hiding behind supermarket spin. In a market built on deception, only genuine transparency protects your plate. Read the label, demand better. Your choices matter more than any marketing claim.